Let's catch up on the news from the world of entertainment. The new reboot of Queer as Folk premiered last week, just days before the 6th anniversary of Pulse. The first episode ends as an inspiring drag queen takes the stage at Babylon, and a shooter enters and opens fire. Our entertainment headline of the week: the Queer as Folk reboot has a Pulse storyline. What do y'all think about Queer as Folk?
Well, I have to give them credit for having a nice warning at the beginning. And actually, I think that for that first episode, it took a long time for it to come together. And I think it really comes together at that moment because it seems a little, I don't know, discombobulated.
Was it respectful?
But I thought it was respectful.
I haven't watched it yet.
Very powerful.
I couldn't watch it.
The scene afterwards, the hospital scene and everything, and the way the impact that it had on the people days later, I think it was respectful. I think it was well done.
Is the majority, because I haven't watched it, and you don't have to worry about spoiling, because I haven't watched it, do you think the majority of the LGBTQ community will like the new reboot? Put on your
in comparison to the original?
Tomatoes.
In comparison
Well,
to the
compared
original?
to the British one and then compared to the American one from the 90s, it's taking me a while to warm up to it. So I'm not.
But it is episode
I'm a
one.
little. I know. I'm a little.
You've only
holding
seen
off.
one episode
Yeah.
so far. Yeah.
From what I've heard of the episode, Al, I don't think you're ready to watch it, and I don't think that you should.
Yeah,
That is
didn't
from
know.
me. That is
Every
from me to
friend
you
I
as a
had
friend.
said, Al, don't watch it because this will hit you right
You
between
know,
the eyes.
but and a lot of these shows like this have this kind of storyline. Like 24 will have like used to have like a big blow up or a terrorist attack or something like this, and then for the rest of the seasons, it will be based on what happened that first episode.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I'm not ready to watch it either. Ripped from the headlines shows don't really do a lot for me because I was writing the headlines for so many years and I don't really want to relive it. To your point, I think that this new one though is very different. Before it was 4 basically white guys, and a couple lesbians and things like that. So this one's much more inclusive.
There's a trans character.
But what I loved about the original, because it reflected me at that age, at that time, and it reflected my friend group, which of course was not nearly as diverse as it should have been. But I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so you do what you can. But I just really attached onto that, and I don't know if this will speak to me just because of the age. I feel like I might have aged out of it.
Have you watched yet any of it?
I watched the trailer, and that's all I can really do.
All right. So, and you haven't?
I haven't watched it yet, but I do plan on watching it, and I think that it's a generational thing. So it's remade now for a new generation, and I do appreciate the diverse and inclusive cast and storyline. And unfortunately, what happens in episode 1 is just a reality of the current world that we live in.
No, that's true.
So we can't escape it, and I think it's just a reminder that this can happen. Again.
It's still
and it's still happening.
Yeah. John, or I mean Greg, I'm curious. How does New Orleans play in it? It was set. The American version was set in Pittsburgh. Really,
Toronto.
It was filmed in Toronto, but it's Pittsburgh, middle Midwest. How does New Orleans play in it?
Well, New Orleans looks good. I mean, there's street shots. Big Frida sings a song at the beginning of the show on the soundtrack. So far, I think it definitely doesn't feel like Pittsburgh. It doesn't feel like a working class kind of thing that was the sort of the vibe of the American series. This definitely feels a lot more, I don't know.
This is core. This is red meat for you and core business, Rotten Tomatoes, Bay Area Reporter, et cetera, and so on. Are you saying we should watch it?
I would say that if you're not attached to that kind of what happens.
Yes or no?
But I would say it's worth watching.
So yeah.
I think that the young actors are really good. I'm a little out on Juliette Lewis as compared
Kim
to
Cattrall. I want to see Kim Cattrall.
and
Okay, she
she's
wouldn't do it just like that, but she would do Queer as Folk.
But she's
How dope is
very
that?
low key in this. It's very interesting to watch her. So I would say yes.
Okay, and you'll keep watching.
I will keep watching.
I have to tell you, and I've made mention here in production at Happening Out. I haven't watched it yet, and I very specifically did not. This has been obviously it's been a very tough week with the anniversary. But what I did watch but I watched the American Queer as Folk, and I started with season 1, episode 1, and I binge watched the entire first season in one day.
Were you Brian?
And oh please God, if I could possibly for 1 hour be Brian, I would be Brian. I would
I was
sacrifice
Brian.
all
I
of
was
you.
totally
Me too. I was. It's very interesting because you get to be Brian in different ways. Brian in terms of size, because it's referred to over and over again. His money, his etc. And you can be Brian in many different ways. I watched the entire first season, and I have to tell you, after going back after so many years, it was 2001, 2002, something like that in time period. It's about 20 years old. It holds up today as well as when it debuted, and oh my God, it absolutely slays in terms of what you're watching. The sex scenes and the way they're shot, and how romantic, raw, unadulterated, homosexual, man-on-man sex is breathtaking.
Okay, the sex in this new season is way over the top compared to that. So you'll see it's
now
much
There you
more.
go. Now he's
Were you
just
gonna
telling
were
you.
you gonna say that it blows
dude,
it away?
Dude, that's your lead. That's the way
It's
where you
the sex
start.
scenes are
The other thing is
Much more
the
graphic.
dance scenes in Babylon are breathtaking. The experiences in the Courtyard Cafe on Wilton Drive, which is the cafe in Babylon, is just breathtaking. The series was so ahead of itself.
It really
We all
was.
knew how great it was. We knew. But watching it 20 years later, it is an institutional moment for LGBT. And if you haven't watched Queer as Folk with Brian Kenny in a long, long time,
And who was
or
the lady at
maybe
the diner?
never,
Who was the lady at the
Sharon
diner?
Glass, his
Sharon
Hal Sparks'
Sharon
mom.
It was
Glass.
the mom. Yeah.
Yes.
How incredible was she?
Genius. Just genius. Go back and watch it.
New-
I binged it in one day.
And she waits
The new Queer as Folk has a lot to follow.
Oh, my
I mean, I'm
God.
sorry. Those
That's why
shoes
I
are
asked.
so, that penis is so big to fill. You know what I mean? Like, so.
What is it streaming on?
Peacock.
Done Peacock.
Peacock.
You get it?
And then the original series, what is that streaming on?
Showtime. But
I
you
would-
can see it in Hulu.
Oh, okay. Because I would love to go back and watch it because I remember when
good.
the original was out, I was in high school and we didn't have cable when as a kid because my parents were really conservative and strict. So
I
the
know what
TV
you're gonna be doing.
Wasn't a thing. So in high school, actually, my first job was at a movie theater and one of the managers used to actually record it on VHS and bring it to me when I came to work the next time and I used to watch the episode. And then
And you would get it back all sticky?
I would give it back to VHS and record the next
Do that.
episode.
Now, I'm 10 years older than you, or maybe more. But in 2001, it was so beyond anything we had ever seen before. It was on Showtime. So exactly that. The vast majority of people never saw Queer as Folk because they couldn't.
No, I saw it 10 years later.
But I need to go back and watch it now at the age I'm at
incredible it was.
right now. to get a
Storyline
better
of Brian
understanding.
Kenny,
And Sunshine.
what he does, and then Sunshine, which is Justin, and Justin is 17 years old, and how the parents react, and the difference in the father reacting versus mother reacting, and his fag hag, offensive phrase, but his fag hag girlfriend at 17 in high school, and then all of the ways that gay men interact in positives and negative ways.
Addiction. I mean, they
explore
cover everything. Like everything.
Everything.
They had an HIV positive character at a
Yeah.
time when it was very, when there was a changing point in the
And even back then,
conversation.
they had gay actors playing gay characters too.
I'm not sure if I mentioned the sex scenes. Did I mention the sex scenes? Anyway, go back and watch
it.
Queer as Folk. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus